City Talk. I've got with me today Robert Chapman and Courtney Nunn. Robert's one of our city aldermen. Courtney is one of our department heads, and she's here to talk about some really exciting stuff that's going to go on with Halloween right around the corner. So Courtney, why don't you start us off on Halloween and tell us the exciting things that you've got planned this year?
All right. So the next event that's coming up is October 24th. That's next Thursday. That's going to be Haunting of Old Town from 6 to 8 at Lions Club Park. So we're going to have a lot of exciting things going on. We'll have Turn of the Train decorated so that you can make a loop around the city hall and see the skeletons. And then we'll have costume contests starting at 6:15. Sorry. And then, cakewalk at 6:15. And we'll do those every 15 minutes. And then the costume contest will begin at 7 p.m. So we've got bounce houses. We've got some good food. Sweet Mamas, Dad's Dogs, and Snow Biz will be out there. We'll have a photo op set up at the front of the park so you can go by there and get your photos taken. So that'll be pretty exciting. We'll have the haunted tunnel back. We're kind of going with a different theme inside the tunnel this year. We're going to try to light up the playground a little bit more. It was a little dark last year, but the kids had fun.
It's truly haunted.
Yeah. So, we've got some different locations for some of the decorations that we did last year. Some different games. So we've got a lot of exciting things happening. So I'm excited about Haunting of Old Town. I get so excited.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last year walking around. And I guess this is how many years have you done it at Lions Club Park now?
This should be the fourth year.
The fourth year.
It's the fourth year.
A good crowd, a lot of people. We blocked the street off, so you don't have to worry about cars. And if your children or you go across one of the two streets, you can do so safely. So we want to encourage everybody to come and be part of that.
We'll have Treat Street. I forgot about Treat Street.
Treat
We've got a
Street.
few businesses that are going to set up at Lions Club Park. So they'll put up some fun little games, give out candy. And then, a very important part, everybody can walk over to the depot and go meet and greet with Bluey, Cinderella, and Spider-Man. So they'll have 3 characters that they can meet over there at the depot.
Well, that's going to be
huge.
a
I'm
big
so sorry.
deal.
I almost forgot that.
Well, that's part of the fun. That area has been set up to use like you're talking about. We've got a special place there under the bridge that we've been working on, and we should have that fully decorated by the spring, or at least started the decoration with lights underneath it that can be different colors and some sitting areas, kind of a hangout place. So then we'll be adding to it over the years as it grows and changes. But from the train depot all the way up to the Lions Club Park, it's just a great area to walk and to have a band when we have those, a cakewalk. It's a lot of fun for a lot of kids. I've got a couple of things, and I'm going to talk about them intermittently through this discussion here. So I'm going to start off about transparency and what it is. A little bit more serious tone here than the fun of hoot. But I've had people here lately tell you, well, you're not very transparent. Let me explain what that is, because it seems to be becoming a catchphrase whenever you don't like the answer I give you. Well, the problem is that sometimes the answer you get isn't the answer that you want. That has nothing to do with transparency. Transparency is what we're doing right now, and what we do every month with this city talk, talking to people about the issues in front of the city. Transparency is streaming the board meetings so that you don't have to come to the meeting to know what's going on. It's sending out a newsletter. It's articles that are written and put on our webpage, and information that goes out via our communications department with Marley. Transparency is the things that we do on the webpage to keep you informed of everything that's going on. We are the most transparent administration in the history of the city. The technology timing of it all makes that possible. And the opportunity for you to know everything that you want to know about the city is there. There's a calendar on our webpage that tells you the dates of everything and all the events that are going on. So to say that, you're not being transparent, I'll give you an example of not being transparent. And this doesn't involve Robert. He wasn't on the board then. But his predecessor was. Twice I've asked the board to stream our work sessions. The only person to vote for it both times was Bill Barnett, the late Bill Barnett. The other 6 aldermen in various numbers voted no. And each time the vote was 4-3. That is not being transparent. And so I just wanted to talk about that and make a little bit of a better explanation of what it is in reality versus you just don't like the answer that you get. Robert? Now, Robert, you're a big player in Hoot, I understand.
I was hoping we were going to keep that down on the DL. Yeah, I had the opportunity last year to, I've never met a microphone that I don't like. Some people probably know that. So I got to MC the cakewalk last year and give my 2 cents and call out really awesome costumes and all that. And so Courtney has asked if I would do that again this year. Last year I cheated and I took the cheapest way out of having a costume. So I wore a black suit to work that day, and I created a little name tag that said Men in Black. And so I had my Men in Black and my sunglasses on. So I cheated. So this year I decided I would not cheat as much and not be so hot in a full suit. So I'm going to come as Al Borland from Home Improvement. So I've got my hat and I've got a plaid shirt and ready to get. Yeah. So I just need somebody to come dressed up as Tim. I asked my daughter and she was like, I'm not dressing up as Tim. And I asked my son and he was like, no, I'm coming as a soccer player. So I don't have any more kids. So I'll just come as one half of Tool Time.
We need a Tim out there. Anybody who wants to come.
Anybody report to the stage.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the city a little bit, things that are going on, what your thoughts are, and, kind of where you, good or bad, whatever you think.
So, it seems like every time I come here and talk about, being the new guy, the new person on the board, which, we're coming to a culmination of this board right at the end of this year. We qualify to run again for the next term starting in January. So I guess I can't really say that. I am the newest one here, but I guess I can't say that I'm super new. I've got a few years behind my belt, and I learned from the get-go that July, August, and September is crazy when it comes to budget. But then everything kind of cools down a little bit when we get into October, November, December with some of the awesome things going on with Hoot. We've got the Bark Park coming up. What is that supposed to call?
Yeah. So Friday is the dinner and a movie.
Yeah.
That's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And then Saturday is Halloween at the Bark Park.
Yeah.
Dress up your dogs. But we've got a whole weekend full of fun stuff.
So there's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of fun stuff,
Yeah.
Coming down the road. We've got the Christmas parade. It's always fun. We've got the lights that'll be in Old Town. That'll be really cool that everybody gets to come and see. So I've finally landed into that balance of crazy busy in the August, September area. But then when we get into the last quarter of the year, it's a lot of fun to see lots of hard work still going on, but then a lot of the fun celebrations that we all get to have together, whether we're, united or not on one side of an issue or whatever. When we get to the Christmas time and the fun time, we get to celebrate the fact that we live in such a wonderful city. Unless you're hiding under some sort of rock and you've seen some of the wildness that's happened in other communities that are around us and around the nation, we really do live in a wonderful place that's very safe on purpose, that has wonderful citizens on purpose, that look out for each other. We go generations deep, and then we're also planning for generations in the future. And so that's kind of, I do look forward to. Also, it starts to cool down now because I think it's one of the punishments that we get in the South.
I'll tell you this morning I've been waiting for this morning.
It's been pleasant, but going into Hoot, I think it's going to be awesome. It's a lot of fun. getting ready for the winter markets for the Bark Pawnee of the Bark Park, and then the Christmas parade. No, I think this is one of my favorite times of year here in the city. Not just because my birthday is coming up, but also because this is an awesome time.
Yeah.
I turned 40 on Sunday. I get to be a real adult.
So those of you who have Christmas or birthday presents, I think he's counting for one there.
Watch out, big mouth.
Everybody for my birthday, I want everybody to take a nap on Sunday. That's all.
There you go.
Okay.
Watch some boring football and take a nap.
Well, let me explain now. Let me kind of move into something else. I guess I'm sort of the Darth Vader today, I guess. But I'm building to something. Our board is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. And you have to have some sort of order in a board meeting or you just can't run it. People would go nuts. Who do you recognize? The process of a motion, complications if somebody wants to table a motion, all these other things that come into it. Robert's Rules of Order, and everybody should know, is pretty thick when you start reading it. And it gets really down, into great detail of various things. But one of the things that happened this week in this meeting I'm building to was that I was criticized because I wouldn't let an alderman talk. Well, one of the things that the rules that we have, and well, wait a second. We also can set our own rules. Our board can. A rule, for example, that one of the rules that our board wants everybody to adhere to is after the agenda goes out, we're not going to add anything to it and not tell anybody. Between Friday afternoon and Tuesday night, I wouldn't put anything on the agenda that didn't come up except during that time frame that must be dealt with quickly in order for it to continue on. We've had those surprises a couple of times, but just to add something to it, to surprise the board, is frankly something that I don't think is right. As a board, we have that rule so that everybody has the same opportunity to understand the issue and to know what's being asked of them and be able to think it through. So we had two issues that actually came up under other business, which is where you would put this. One was done correctly, one wasn't. So let's talk about this. First, the one that was done correctly. An issue came up. One of the aldermen said, I'd like to, we need to talk about this. He called or contacted other aldermen and then contacted me and said, I'd like to put this on the agenda in other business. Everyone was aware of it. That's fair ground. The other alderman, violating the rules of Robert's Rules of Order, and this is important, you have to understand this. Once an issue is voted on, it is closed. That's it. There's no more discussion. So when I tell you, when you want to talk about that same issue that we just voted on, that same issue that is now concluded, taking whatever route it's taking, we're not going to open discussion back up on it. Okay, that's just the rules and the way it goes. So now there are some exceptions to that, for example, but this wasn't that situation. Just to have something more to say on the issue, it becomes a moot point. And so, yes, I denied that motion or that request to speak because the issue had been voted on. So it's important to know those rules and how to use them. And that will be my next topic of discussion as we move forward on it. Dog park contest that you have,
Yeah.
I think it's like 10 to 11.
10 to 11, that's at Kidstown Park, called the Bark Park there. So it's a time where all the dog lovers can dress up their dogs and come have fun. We have a small category, medium and large category, and then we have a people pet combo, and that's usually the funnest one.
So you dress like your pet, or your pet
No,
dress like
you could be a theme. So
Like I've said, which my Dalmatian is not ready to go in front of humans yet because we're in the puppy stage. But one of the great ideas I thought that I would have is I got a black and white spotted dog. I'll dress up as the Chick-fil-A worker, and my Dalmatian could go as the Chick-fil-A cow.
There we go. Yeah.
She doesn't want to do that right now.
Well, you can also go as a firefighter.
I could.
You know.
Yeah.
My favorite from last year was a lady. She had on her like bathrobe, and then her dog. She made it what is the shower?
A loofah.
Yes, and it was a little teacup dog, and it was my favorite. So, see, people pet combo.
I see.
It was super cute.
See, now I'm glad you said that.
I did it on purpose.
I've told people before that all the years I've been involved with city and county business, I've never had a parks and recreation director, a communications director, a Main Street director that would use the term super cute. I just don't see that happening, and all of a sudden now it's all around me. So I'm having to get used to that. It's really, really unusual. So you got a movie. We have a movie,
Wizard
Wizard
of
of
Oz.
Oz. What time does that start?
I believe that's
It's usually on sunsets, like 7:15.
yeah. So as it gets darker, it probably gets a little bit
Earlier.
later.
Is that a dress-up thing too?
No. Well, sometimes they dress up. I think one time they had Princess and the Frog going, and they all showed up in
Well, I think
princess
anything that
outfits.
says
So
princess brings a crowd of little
Yeah.
girls in those princess outfits. That's something to see.
Wizard of Oz, you could do a whole lot. So they might come dressed up.
Or they may come in their Halloween costumes if they have them, ready to go.
Okay.
I know our therapeutic recreation director's daughter, she seems to have multiple costumes.
Mhm.
Have you heard what hers are this year?
I don't know right off the top of my head what she said. She's usually what she calls like a community hero or something. She's usually a fighter is what she calls
A
you know,
fighter.
fighter, or a policeman, doctor. Like she really thinks about hers.
Yeah, she thinks it
Ponders
through.
on it.
She's what, 5?
5. Mhm.
Yeah, 5 years old. So dress up for the movie. Then get up the next morning and go to the
Dog park.
from 10 to 11.
10 to
And
11.
if not a participant, at least as a observer.
Mhm.
And then that night, no, it's not that night. It's the next Thursday night.
24th.
The 24th is the hoot.
Yeah. So we'll go hoop first. The next day will be the dinner and a movie, and then Halloween in Spark Park.
And I'll put a plug in for Dad's dog. So he shows up to a lot of your events.
Yeah.
If you are snooty when it comes to a Chicago style dog, his are great.
Yeah.
My 10-year-old will say, "Let's get us a Chicago dog," and I'm sitting there thinking, I've done something right as a father. We're
Yeah.
gonna get a good one.
And Sweet Mamas, they'll be doing. It was a huge hit. At July 4th, they did walking tacos, so they're going to do that.
That's good. I had some walking
So
tacos too.
I have
Those
hot
are great.
dogs and walking tacos
Oh,
and
yeah.
snow cones. Boom.
On the subject of Sweet Mamas and food trucks, you've been a big advocate for food trucks.
Yep.
Board has had some controversy on that, which is great. But let's kind of, if you wouldn't mind, I know, well, Courtney, you've been working on this issue too. Both of you have been one of the real pushers along with Karen Godfrey on this. Let's kind of talk about where we are with food trucks right now and what where we're going with this.
I know we're pretty close to having something really awesome ready for the city. So, again, I assume most people know what food trucks are and why food trucks are the way that they are. If you don't, I mean, this kind of goes back to where it was a Miami thing and a Los Angeles thing. And you had chefs that would take these awesome cuisines in their restaurants and kind of go out and do an experimental thing. Kind of got a cult following. You'd show up with your headphones, you listen to music or a podcast, order some food, get something, walk back home. They're all over DC. They're all over New York now, all over Chicago. So it's kind of a given thing across the nation. But how does that fit in a small town? Especially in a small town that's not so small, that still tries to keep the small town feel, that we've kind of had them dispersed all over the place. And there was really nothing wrong with it. I gave everybody a hard time about, being so afraid that these food trucks were going to just be all over the place and all. We had 3 or 4, which really wasn't that much. However, the consistency of if they are present or if they are not, as the consumer, kind of weighed on me of if I'm in the mood for a tamale and I want to go to get a tamale and they're not there, well, that's where they typically are and they're not there. I can't find them. Now all my plans are awry. So when we've gone through this process of trying to find a food truck park, I do find it extremely ironic that when we had the original plan ready to go, the red tape and the government moved faster than the private side did, and we were ready to go. And so those plans just kind of fell through because, you know, the private side just didn't want to go through with it. So we had to come up with another plan. And then Courtney had an excellent idea. I'll let her explain a little bit. And then, like I said, we've worked towards getting it to where there's going to be a central location to where if you're in the mood for a tamale and the tamale truck is going somewhere else, there's still another food truck present to where you can follow through with your plans and get something like that. But you had an excellent idea of where to put it, and I think we kind of.
As I recall, it was y'all's idea. I'm just executing it.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna give you y'all's flowers. But the area that has been come up with is at Kidstown Park, but in the parking lot directly in front of the fire station. And so when we met there to talk about things, it was brought up to incorporate the name with the fire station. And so we have come up with the Firehouse Food Park. So that's what it's going to be called right there. We'll have four parking spots for long-term food trucks, and then we'll have one parking spot for a short-term. So we're still kind of ironing out some of those details for that. But it's coming along. So
and it's all malleable. I mean, if this looks like it's a great, wonderful, unique Clinton idea and it grows, we can allow for that. If it becomes something that we explored, we gave the good college try and it just didn't happen, we can kind of come back from that.
Right.
So it's not something so set in stone that it's got to be one way or another. It really does allow for real growth, because we've talked about food carts or like Dad's Dogs, come and have a day or whatever, but we got to get to that point, matriculate through the system. One thing I've learned through this entire process of being an alderman is really trusting in the system. Remember the game Plinko on The Price is Right, where it would kind of fall? You can't just assume you know where it's going to go. You've got to let the little piece fall and make it all the way through. We're planning the best that we can to have all of the issues ironed out.
Right.
We know something's going to come around. So when that happens, how have we set ourselves up to pivot, to grow, or to draw back if we need to? And I think the work that she's done to put together the contract and everything, I think it's been exponential, to say the least.
I'll take those flowers.
Yeah. You do that.
Let me tie something in here then. That we know a lot about. I hadn't told you to be ready to talk about this, but you sent me an email this morning, so you got to be all up to date.
Here we go.
Yeah, I love these little surprises like this. I think that as with the spending of this 2% money, and as this park system continues to develop, what we now call Kidstown Park will, as closest to being center in the community and the finished product that we're getting to with this money, will make it one of the main parks, or the main park in town, I believe. There's a schedule we talked about, which you'll get to in a second, but I think this is why the Firehouse Food Park is such a great location for this, and an opportunity to expand and get into the park and other things, which is going to go from the construction of a pickleball court, bathrooms, playgrounds, and then eventually into a skate park. I think you're going to see a lot more people and a lot more activities coming there. So let's talk about where we are right now with the 2% money in our first phase, which includes, Brighton Park, Kidstown Park, and Traceway Park.
Okay, I'll start at Brighton Park. As you've probably heard, at Brighton Park, we're going to be taking down the current playground structure, and we're going to be putting an all-inclusive playground there that's going to look really cool. Right now, we're waiting on equipment to come in. As soon as we get a little bit closer to that time, then we'll begin demoing the area. And then the company will come in and start building the structure, which should take a couple of weeks. So we'll have that ready to roll. Then jumping over to Kidstown will be the pickleball courts and the restroom, pavilion, concession stand area. They should start breaking ground on Monday, so just a few days from now. So they'll start there, and then I would say, let's say like late November, early December, they'll start demoing baseball. I would say baseball 10, I believe, is going to be the next on there. And then at the beginning of 2025, they'll start work on the groundwork for softball 5 and 6. And so they'll kind of get all of those ready to roll, and then they'll start building up. And so that could take a few months from there. So they're going to be moving along. We're excited about it, and we're excited to have those structures up, but then go forward and see what else is on our list that we want to take care of. And I think later on we'll be able to do some of the fun stuff, is what I like to say. Right now it's taking care of the serious, what we need for safety in the parks, and then, fun stuff.
It feels like we talk all the time about standards. We talk at our house, we talk about with my children about living up to a higher standard. And go back to when the Romans were another army, they walked with their big old poles that had the eagle on them. It's called a standard. And the smaller standards followed the larger standards. So by, like you said, getting everything kind of up to par, kind of doing the things we need to do so that we can do the things that are going to be fun that we want to do, I think this just raises those standards. I heard somebody say one time, you want to lose your losers, raise your standards. You want to lose your winners, lower your standards. So I think by raising them, we get to all the other things that are going to be awesome just get taken up to another level. And it's things that we've talked about this in work sessions and board meetings. It's things that we probably should have done a long time ago. But we could talk a lot about what should have, could have, and would have been done a long time ago, and you can't change the past. It's like playing golf. You get a bad shot off the tee box, you can get up to it, you can complain about it all day long, you still got to hit that shot. So here's where we are. We're gonna take it, own it, and move on so that we can get those standards set up, ready to go. And I think we've made the right decision in moving this way.
Absolutely. And aside from the 2% projects, because there's gonna be a lot of construction happening, I would say within the next 9 months, there's gonna be a lot going on. Aside from the 2% funding allotments, we've got the approval of the Traceway sports lighting. And we're getting excited about it. We're trying to get you excited about it. But easily it will be the biggest sports LED lighting project in the history of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Woo! Gets me excited.
Yeah, well, and all of this at the park should conclude about the same time.
Yes. Should be July.
And then in addition to that, with that money that we're using for lights, we'll also buy all of the lights in town. This goes back to a disagreement I had with Energy. How long are you going to rent us what we've already paid for? So through legislation, we can now buy them and own them and save the city $400,000 a year in what we're paying to Energy, which then can be used for wherever the next board wants to take it. And in addition to that, we'll be adding 66 lights down Pine Haven from Arrow to Northside Drive. So there's going to be a lot of that going on. Also it may lap over out of this 9-month time frame. I'm not sure about that yet, but it will all be in place and will be going on. So while I mentioned the Parkway, let me get to an issue that's been sort of exploded this week, for lack of a better term. There's some land on the Parkway which is zoned R1. That means that you can build a neighborhood in there without coming to the city, and as long as you don't need any setbacks or any kind of special discussion or anything like that, and can be built just to city standards. We have a builder, and this land is set vacant for, well, since God made it, I guess, but since the Parkway was built, it was actually eligible to be purchased. And he's come in and he's made an offer to the owner, who lives in Seattle, Washington, to buy his land and build on it. Now, the person who's looking at this land has asked for a zoning change to mixed use. That means that he wanted to put the front 3 or 4 acres in commercial, and then go back with housing, and then around the R1 housing, put townhouses. So there's some concerns that have come up from the Nature Center and from Kentwood. And the Nature Center doesn't want the trees to be cut down. And Kentwood doesn't want, Kentwood is worried about drainage issues. Well, we can address the drainage issues through engineering. The trees are going to have to come down, for the housing. But this isn't an emotional issue. It's not an issue about bats and insects and fireflies. It's an issue, it's a zoning issue, plain and simple. So you have a request to make this more than just an R1 housing. The second is to do R1 housing throughout the whole thing. Well, it exploded, of course, last week and this week, and in the last couple of weeks, with the emotion in the board, either the planning board, the board of aldermen, a contractor and his ownership or his leadership, and then back to the city. We spent almost 10.5 hours talking about this, hearing the same things over and over and over again. And it still comes down to it being a zoning issue. Now, and this is the good part, you get into parliamentary procedure and you get into fighting the battle, and is it fair or not fair? And I will tell you that both sides of this have played fair. They passed a petition. It's a little known statute, first I've heard of it, that says if you get 20% of the people who live within 100 yards of the project to sign a petition, then the board has to go to a supermajority to pass it. 5 votes instead of 4 votes. 5 votes instead of 4 votes. Well, they turned in a petition on Thursday. Jimmy Baldry, our city clerk, began the process of validating the petition. But it's a lot more than just, do these people live within 100 feet? There's a lot of rules and a lot of things that have to go on. He was getting ready, or getting almost ready, on Monday night. The Nature Center group came in and gave him more names. Now he has to go back Tuesday and verify or validate those names. And that took a long time during the day. And so finally, about 5 o'clock, he had his answer of whether or not he could certify the petition that had all of the names that had been submitted. So the ones submitted from Thursday and the ones submitted Monday night. To be fair about it, we had to validate those names. Now, you announce you give the announcement when it comes up on the agenda. If no one comes in and asks, specifically, and we had some phone calls on it, but it was during the day Monday, Jimmy was still working on it. It was his first petition, and he wanted to make sure that all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted, that it was done exactly as it needed to be done. So when it came up on the agenda, I now turned it over to Jimmy, and he announced that the petition did not meet the standard. Every page on the petition has to have written on it what you're signing. You can't have a petition, staple what you got on the front of it, and pass it around, because, and not in this case, it would never happen in this case. But somebody could tear that page off, put something else on there, staple that, and turn it in. Now you signed something that you didn't, know anything about. But it wasn't written on each page. Therefore, by state statute, it is disqualified. So then we get into it. One of the aldermen said he had asked someone, were there enough names? And he said he thought it was. The problem was the person he asked wasn't the person validating the petition. Therefore, it's an unofficial answer. He could have asked me the same question. I could have given any answer I wanted. It doesn't matter, because the verifying person on this is the city clerk. When you have rules, it goes back to like Robert Rules of Order. You have rules on something this intense, you need to make sure that everything is done correctly. One of the aldermen on the board decided that I was playing games and was trying to, pollute the process. I was playing as fair as the other side was. All this is political stuff. It's good stuff. I like it. But it was fair stuff. I mean, both sides and what we were doing. So he changed his vote. It required a 4 vote to not table the motion and give the other group 2 more weeks to do their petition. Well, they got the 2 weeks. As a side note, that petition has now been turned in with the 11 names they needed, and it's been validated. And so instead of requiring 4 votes, it's going to require 5 votes. So what does that mean? That means that the very thing that this particular alderman was trying to prevent, playing politics, as he said, gives him the opportunity to play politics. Let me just be straight about it. 5 votes required now. So he voted as one of the 5, one of the 4 to require the 5 votes. Okay, so when it comes back, he can say, I voted to stop it, if he's in front of that crowd. If he's in front of a different crowd and he votes for the R1 mixed use project, he can say, hey, I voted for it to move forward. But it was only 4 votes. So it didn't pass. That's politics there. That is what you don't want to be involved in. Being able to take both sides of an issue. So there's a lot more to that issue and a lot more that was going on than probably most people realized. It got in, once again, to the transparency questions and the Robert Rules of Order question that, we were trying to control and do as fairly as we possibly could. I might also note that Monday night at the work session, everybody who came to that work session to speak on that issue that raised their hands had the chance to say whatever they wanted to say. Nobody was left with their hands raised and not able to get an answer to the question. So now we're in a situation where if the board doesn't change 2 votes, because now it says 3 to 4, the R1 with mixed use has 3 votes. So if 2 people don't change their answers, then it automatically goes to R1. R1 will not allow any setbacks. It won't allow any buffers. It will take down every tree, and it's in our ordinances. It's in our ordinances. So the opportunity to have had a really, really great project with commercial on the parkway, building back to the houses, can now turn into just a project of a house. It's just going to be a project like Copper Creek or any of the other subdivisions that have been built, down Pine Haven or anywhere else in the city. I call that a missed opportunity. But what it also gets into is builders, developers, they see this and they wonder, should I come to that town or not if they're going to put up with this kind of stuff every time somebody tries to do something? Should the city change its motto to you belong here, unless you're a contractor or a builder or a developer, at which time the Board of Aldermen will make it as difficult as possible for you to build anything. It has effects on the well, just slipped my mind. Rising Spring project. They're going to ask for mixed use. How can you deny mixed use over here, but approve it over there? What do you believe? What's the message you're sending? So it's difficult. It's difficult to be pro-economic development when this city continues to elect people who are opposed to it. Now I'm really stepping out there, aren't I? But the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of reasons to vote against any project. You have to trust those who've been involved in it. And if you don't trust them, or you don't want the project, then you find a reason to vote no. All justifiable. one of the aldermen involved in this on the no side is pretty much upfront about it. I can respect that. But if you don't want progress, you don't want to elect pro-economic people like sitting right here. If you want progress, then you need to find out and them telling you how, I'm for it, I'm for it, I'm for it. If they're an incumbent, see how they voted. That's all that matters. You can verbalize it till the cows come home. The only thing that matters is how you voted. So enough of that. We still need a Tim to go with Al Borland, for those of you who are ready to go. Bart Park, 10 to 11 Saturday, this Saturday? No, next Saturday week. The haunting of Old Town, which is
Thursday next week.
before the Saturday.
Right. So Thursday,
then,
Friday, Saturday is next week is when everything's going down.
And then the movie,
Yes. Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, is next Friday.
Next Friday on the brick streets.
So get your calendar out, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week, mark it off and come on.
Just be regular Wizard of Oz, no Pink Floyd or anything. Just
Right.
You want to scare the children. It's like the flying monkeys are horrible enough, you know.
Oh, that'd be awful.
Yeah, well, you know, that's why I used to hide under the bed when they came on too, when I was a little guy. So there are some great things going on in the city. Things that we've worked hard and worked around people to get. So I just want to let you know also that this probably the November City Talk will probably be the last one unless we redo the format. January is when people would qualify for office. So to have a person who's running for re-election means that I have to give the opponents of people who are running for re-election an opportunity to speak. And we just won't have enough months before the election to do that. I'm not running for re-election, therefore, you know, I can come on there. If we have an alderman who runs unopposed, I guess we could do that. But if we do keep this format and go on through June, it will be done via other people in the city or other people representing projects in the city or ideas in the city that are not running for re-election. So I just wanted to let you know now, again, being transparent with you, to let you know now why you won't see any more elected officials after November and the logic behind it. So anything you'd like to finish up with and say?
Just don't forget, we've got, I think, close around 3 weeks left for national voting. Make sure you vote for that. But more importantly, as you've heard me say for close to 3 years, your local government impacts you every single day. Make sure you vote in the primaries coming up in March and in the general election for the city coming up closer to June, I believe. So pay attention. Thank you all I've gotten tons of emails for various concerns. Thank you. Thank you for sending all of us emails and for holding us accountable one way or another.
Yeah, and then they just, again, go on that. Even the negative, especially the negative emails. But don't make them negative so that you cause businesses to leave. Had an email last week that came out. I actually responded to it. It's only the second time I've ever done that. Because it's cost us a business. He read that and said, if you're going to talk that way about restaurants, I don't see any reason to come to your town. I'm trying to work with him now and bring him back. But they do read this stuff and it is damaging. So write nice stuff. You know, you can say stuff like, boy, I really love what the board did. Don't know where the mayor was, so forget him. Let that go. Okay. But then nice stuff. Because we really are trying to bring these restaurants in and we don't need to have negative things out there said about it. But directly to the alderman, especially to me, criticisms, comments, ideas, especially ideas. We would love to have you submit those to us and tell us straightforward and honestly, you know, what you think about what we're doing, because it does have an effect. It means something to hear back from people and get feedback from people on what we're doing.
It really does.
Closing comments with you?
I'm just appreciative of all the support for Parks and Recreation. My staff and I are committed to building the best of the best parks here, and we'll continue to do so.
An underappreciated department, you have how many people?
11.
11 people juggling all those balls between soccer and baseball and softball and football and events and new projects and me pestering her about something else, like put her in charge of Parkway lights. I mean, you know, makes her flinch every time I call. But you've done a great job, and your crew has done a great job, and we're really proud of you here in the city.
Thank you.
So keep those cards and letters coming.